Welcome to Newsbeacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. On August 4th, 2025, the Philippines released a new map, boldly asserting its maritime rights in the South China Sea. Grounded in international law and the 2016 arbitral ruling, this map challenges China's sweeping claims. Manila moves from protest to action, signaling it will not back down. Tensions are rising as confrontations at sea increase. The Philippines draws a line in the water, challenging China's narrative. The world is watching. Who will stand with them and at what cost? The South China Sea dispute is rooted in decades, if not centuries, of overlapping claims. For years, fishermen from different countries shared these waters, largely ignoring modern borders. But after World War II, newly independent nations began to formalize their territories. China's Nine-Dash Line, first drawn in 1947, claimed most of the sea, clashing with the rights of neighbors like the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia. The discovery of oil and gas in the 1970s raised the stakes, turning the sea into a strategic and economic prize. The 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, was meant to clarify maritime rights, introducing the Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. But China's sweeping claim cuts across the EEZs of its neighbors, creating a fundamental legal conflict. In recent decades, China has built artificial islands and militarized the region, using its Coast Guard and maritime militia to intimidate rivals. The Philippines took its case to an international tribunal, which in 2016 ruled overwhelmingly in its favor, declaring China's Nine-Dash Line had no legal basis. China rejected the ruling and tensions remain high. The South China Sea remains a flashpoint where history, law, and power collide. The dispute is far from resolved. The new Philippine map is a precise, deliberate document, boldly labeling the country's 200 nautical mile EEZ as the West Philippine Sea. It highlights key features like Reed Bank and Scarborough Shoal, areas rich in resources and central to the dispute. The map ignores China's Nine-Dash Line, instead following UNCLOS and the 2016 tribunal ruling. It's not a new claim, but a visual assertion of rights already recognized by international law. The map includes exact coordinates and names of islands and reefs, reinforcing the Philippines' administrative control. The Calayan Island group in the Spratlys is clearly marked as Philippine territory. This clarity leaves little room for ambiguity, providing a solid basis for diplomatic protests and naval patrols. Domestically, the map rallies national pride and unity. Internationally, it's a call for support from countries that value a rules-based order. The Philippines is framing its move as a defense of sovereignty, not aggression. The map is a strategic communication tool designed to shift both local and global perceptions. It challenges China's narrative and invites the world to take a stand. The stakes are not just territorial, they're about the future of international law in Asia's most contested waters. The map is both a shield and a statement. China's Nine-Dash Line claims nearly 90% of the South China Sea, based on vague historical rights. This sweeping claim has no basis in modern international law, as UNCLOS grants maritime rights from land, not arbitrary lines at sea. The 2016 arbitral tribunal declared the Nine-Dash Line legally invalid, finding no evidence of China's exclusive historical control. China rejected the ruling and continues to enforce its claim, building artificial islands and deploying Coast Guard and maritime militia to assert dominance. The new Philippine map directly confronts this policy, highlighting the illegality of China's position. It creates a stark contrast. One claim rooted in law, the other in history and power. China faces a dilemma: ignore the map and risk appearing weak, or respond aggressively and damage its global reputation. The map forces the world to confront the core conflict: international law versus might. The Philippines' move puts China on the defensive, challenging its narrative on the global stage. The dispute is now more visible and more urgent than ever. The map is a diplomatic gauntlet thrown at China's feet. The world must now choose which vision of order it supports. The South China Sea's future hangs in the balance. The Philippines isn't alone in its claims. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei also have vital interests in the South China Sea. Vietnam's claims cover the Paracel and Spratly Islands, backed by both history and UNCLOS, and it has faced repeated Chinese aggression. Malaysia's claims, rich in oil and gas, have been challenged by Chinese incursions into its EEZ. Brunei's smaller claim is also economically significant. The new Philippine map could inspire these countries to publish their own UNCLOS-based maps, creating a united Southeast Asian front. But economic ties with China make them cautious. Their responses will be closely watched. Statements of support may be measured, but quiet reinforcement of their own claims is likely. The map could catalyze greater cooperation, joint patrols, or a more coordinated ASEAN strategy. The Philippines' move puts pressure on its neighbors to choose between unity and caution. The region's next steps could reshape the balance of power in the South China Sea. The South China Sea is a global crossroads. One-third of world shipping worth over $3 trillion passes through its waters each year. Any conflict here could disrupt global trade, raising costs and creating economic chaos. The seabed holds vast oil and gas reserves, making control of these waters a matter of energy security for East Asia. For countries like the Philippines and Vietnam, these resources could transform their economies. The sea is also a vital fishing ground, supporting millions of livelihoods. But overfishing and environmental damage threaten its future. China's island building has pushed the ecosystem to the brink, fueling further conflict over dwindling fish stocks. The South China Sea is a geopolitical flashpoint, testing whether international law or raw power will shape the region. The US and its allies have a stake in upholding freedom of navigation and supporting treaty partners. The Philippines' new map is a direct appeal to these principles. The outcome will set a precedent for international order far beyond Asia. The world's attention is fixed on these contested waters. What happens here will ripple across the globe. The stakes are nothing less than the rules that govern the seas. The new Philippine map sent immediate shockwaves through the region. China condemned the map as illegal and quickly increased its Coast Guard and militia presence near disputed features. Beijing's message: a map may change on paper, but control on the water is another matter. The US, Japan, and Australia reaffirmed support for the Philippines and the 2016 tribunal ruling, calling on China to respect international law. These statements provide crucial diplomatic backing, signaling to China that its actions are under global scrutiny. Southeast Asian responses were more cautious. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia called for peaceful resolution but stopped short of endorsing the map. ASEAN remains divided, with some members reluctant to challenge China directly. The map has exposed both the region's unity and its fractures. The diplomatic landscape is shifting, but consensus remains elusive. The Philippines' move has forced every player to clarify their stance. The region is bracing for what comes next. The new map marks a turning point. Escalation is likely, as China may intensify its tactics at sea. The Philippines, having drawn its line, must now defend it, risking more direct confrontations. This assertiveness could galvanize a coalition of supportive states. Joint exercises, intelligence sharing, and capacity building may follow. The map gives international partners a clear, law-based reason to back the Philippines. But there are risks. China could retaliate economically, straining the Philippine economy and testing domestic resolve. All of China's neighbors face this balancing act: defend sovereignty or risk economic fallout. Yet the map also opens a path for diplomacy, setting clear terms for future negotiations. The old ambiguity is gone. Any dialogue must now address the 2016 ruling and UNCLOS. China may resist, but the legal dimension is now front and center. The map forces all parties to confront the dispute's core issues. In the long run, this clarity could be the first step toward a more stable, rules-based resolution. The stakes are high, but so is the potential for progress. The region stands at a crossroads. The Philippines' new map is more than a redrawn line. It's a bold stand for sovereignty and the rule of law. By grounding its claims in the 2016 ruling and UNCLOS, the Philippines challenges China's expansive ambitions. The map crystallizes the central conflict: historical ambition versus international law. For other claimants, it's both inspiration and challenge. For global powers, a call to defend the rules-based order. The world's response will determine if this is a turning point or just another chapter in a long dispute. The map has changed the diplomatic landscape, even if the facts on the water remain contested. The risk of conflict is real, but so is the promise of new clarity and cooperation. The principles at stake, freedom of navigation, peaceful dispute resolution, and the universality of law, are global. The waves of the South China Sea carry the currents of geopolitics. The world is watching, and what happens here will echo far beyond these shores.